Because of this project, we decided to take on more projects, more social projects, especially that deals with kids in Palestine. And we're hoping we can get some sort of donations. As I always say, $5 or $100, every dollar will count towards projects like that. So we're hoping that we'll have we'll have like a fundraising events and so on to raise some funds to continue to do projects like that in Ramallah for kids. So that's part of what we did also. And the other thing, of course, it's the usual. You know, I had some meetings with some Palestinian government officials on the Prime Minister's side. And on the President Mahmoud Abbas side also, and also some meetings at the PLO with some PLO officials, and also with the head of the national campaign for the State of Palestine number 194. And that's when we started, as a matter of fact, to organize our work, and that's when they mainly asked me to be the coordinator for the campaign here in the United States.
Well, what a wonderful honor for you. You mentioned that your brother was there taking pictures.
Yes.
So I guess I don't know. I assume you have family there back in Palestine.
Yes, yes, we do have a family. As a matter of fact, all my brothers and sisters and my mom, they live there. I mean, my mom spent more time here in the United States because she's an American citizen. So she spent most of her time here with me in the United States. And she goes to visit for a month or two from time to time. But the rest of them are there. They are all, they work there, they live there, while waiting for their immigration papers to arrive. And once they reach the deadlines for their applications and so on, they will be moving here to get their green cards and so on. Yeah.
And how many brothers and sisters do you have?
Well, I do have 2 brothers and 3 sisters, but one of my sisters passed away a couple of years ago. It's sudden death. So
you still have two brothers and 2 sisters living?
Yes.
And they all have families?
They all have families there. Yeah, they come here and visit, you know. So, some of them already got their green cards, so they come and some of them lives half of the year here and the other half back home up until they finish with,
And they live in Ramallah?
They all live in Ramallah. I mean, my immediate family, but my family, I have cousins lives all over the world.
Yeah, I bet.
As a matter of fact, I have a lot here in the United States. I have a lot of cousins in the United States.
And you have 2 little boys?
2 little boys, yeah. They will be 3 years
Twins?
soon. Yeah. They will be like in December, Christmas Eve, 3 years.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
So that's really what I did in Palestine. So I spent 2 months, as a matter of fact, there. Time passed by very quick there. When, as they say, when you're having good time, usually. But it's you go there, you have good time there. You meet your friends, you meet the people that you want to meet. You try to work on projects. You try to help people. But of course, on my way going there and on my way leaving the country, it wasn't a pleasant experience at all because I had to go through Israeli interrogations, and usually they don't make it happy for me when I go in or leave. But I got used to their way of interrogation.
So you didn't miss your flights anyway?
No, I did not. As a matter of fact, because this time I went through Jordan. So the interrogation was like crossing the bridge from Jordan into Palestine.
The Allenby Bridge?
Yes, Allenby Bridge. Yeah, I was there. Yeah. So that's simply what we had to do or go through. And I tell people sometimes, this is a trip from Amman, Jordan, to Ramallah, Palestine. If you remove the border points and you just drive your own car, you can leave Amman and be in Ramallah hour and a half later. It takes almost 10 hours on that bridge for us as Palestinians to go, and especially if if you are lucky enough so they have to do extra checking and interrogation. But yeah, it took me around 10 hours going into the country and leaving from the country.
Kind of a funny story you might enjoy is that this spring we had some people that they were med students, and they did a rotation in Palestine, and there were 3 American boys and 1 Palestinian American, and it was one of the American boys that got stopped on the bridge. The Palestinian American went through, and they were sitting there waiting for him. And they were all like, "Where is he?"
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's the thing with Israel.
And nobody ever quite figured out why he was the one that was singled out.
Yeah, it's just like you never know. With the Israelis, you never know. That's the thing, usually.
But it sounds like they know you now.
Well, I spent some time in the Israeli prisons when I was one of the student leaders in Palestine in the 80s. So definitely, you know.
So your name rings bells.
Plus, you know, I'm very active in politics, and I'm sure they know about that.
Oh, I'm sure they do. Yeah. So. All they had to do was turn the TV on, right?
Yeah. and for me as a Palestinian, I feel like, you know, for me to stand up for my homeland and stand up for justice is really an honor for me. And this is something that I feel proud of. I feel proud of doing, and I feel proud of anyone who is trying to help Palestinians finally achieve their homeland, their independent state, and live like any other nation, like any other people, in peace and in justice, and also in dignity, which is very important. You know, I mean, we are not living in dignity under the Israeli occupation. They can stop you in the street at any time, and they can start just beating you for no reason. Or they can just like get you to sit down and wait for hours and hours, and you don't know why. So dignity is very important. Self-determination is very important for us, because we decided as Palestinians to be, again, like any other nation, like any other people, live again as an independent nation, and we're not going to give that right to no one anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that makes a lot of sense to me. What do you expect will happen? I've been reading a lot in the media, and some of them are alarmists, and they're worried about violence in Palestine. Should, you know, as we expect, the bid for statehood is to be rejected.
Well, I think what creates the violence is the Israeli occupation. I mean, it's very simple. If you want everybody to live in peace, you must stop the Israeli occupation to Palestine. You cannot keep the Israeli occupation. You cannot keep the brutal occupation and the brutal practices by the Israeli forces against the Palestinians on a daily basis, and expect the Palestinians to always submit to the Israelis. And what I'm saying is that if we in the United States wants to see really a comprehensive and lasting peace in that area, and if we want to see it for the sake of the Palestinian kids and the Israeli kids, so that both lives in peace and both enjoy living side by side in peace and dignity, we should help them achieve this comprehensive and lasting peace that is based on justice. So President Mahmoud Abbas was very clear in his speech. He was talking about the 1967 borders, including Jerusalem as its capital. So we are not creating the violence. We are not doing that. It's the Israeli occupation to blame. You know, just think about it. You know, if Cedar Rapids people decided to come and occupy Iowa City, you know, what would you do? I mean, it's like, you know, anybody who is against Palestinians or who is not standing with Palestinian rights, just ask yourself this question. Would you let someone to come and take your house by force and throw you in the street, and you just sit down and do nothing. I mean, that's something that we have to deal with. So that's exactly what happened since 1948, and even before 1948. Palestinians in 1948 were driven by force by the Israelis to leave their homes in Jaffa, in Haifa, in Lod, in Ramle, and one of them is my dad. We still have the house in Jaffa. We still have, I mean, not the house, we still have the key to the house. We still have the papers, the deed to the house. But guess what? We cannot even go near the house because they brought a family, a Jewish family from Poland to live in our house. So where is justice, that means? So when people talk about this issue, I always tell them, well, put yourself in our shoes and just try to maybe act for 10 minutes and see if you will do anything or not. See if you will accept the Israeli occupation to your land or not. And that's a very important issue. I mean, you know, I'm hoping that violence will not happen. We are not. We are people who loves to live. Mm-hmm. We are people who loves to live and live in peace. But also, in order to live in peace, they have to leave us alone. The Israeli occupation must end, so that Palestinians can live their normal life. They can get up in the morning, they can go to work, they can enjoy the day, they can do what they decide to do with their family, but not you will live based on what the Israeli wants you to do. So if there is any violence to start, I think the violence will start from the Israeli side because they are the occupier, they are the oppressor, and not the Palestinians who are living under the Israeli occupation for more than 63 years now.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. What about the prisoner exchange? What's the word on the ground about that, to let our viewers know, remind them about what happened? Gilad Shalit was an Israeli prisoner that was captured 5 years ago?
Around 5 years ago, yeah.
And he was on patrol in the Gaza Strip. And he was captured by Hamas and held prisoner for 5 years. What many of our viewers may not know is that there are thousands of Palestinian prisoners in Israeli jails for very similar things. Some of them are children.
Yeah, and
some of them have no, charges against them, and they're civilians and women.
Yeah, and that you are right. I think one thing that we have to remember, that we have more than 9,000 prisoners, Palestinian prisoners, in the Israeli prisons, and some of them are tortured to death even in the Israeli prisons. I know firsthand what the Israeli torture means, because I spent time in the Israeli prisons and I was tortured myself. And this issue is a dear issue to my heart too. I think one of the biggest days for Palestine has to be when every Palestinian prisoner becomes free. When the last Palestinian prisoners leaves the Israeli prisons, will be really a great day for us as Palestinians, because we know exactly what they are going through in those prisons, and we know the treatments that they have against those prisoners. So yes, I mean, they finally, according to the news, they reach a deal that they will exchange Shalit for 1,037 Palestinian prisoners. And what bothers me the most, that day, for example, President Obama was very happy talking about how Shalit went back to his family and joined his family and reunite with his family, but he didn't even say one word about the Palestinians. Well, guess what? We're a human being, same way as they are a human being. And the Palestinian life is as valuable as the Israeli life, and the Israeli life should be as valuable as the Palestinian life. So that's why we as the Palestinians right now are not seeing the American foreign policy as a fair policy and an objective policy, and well, not depending on that policy anymore. And we thought like, okay, we should take our issue back to the United Nations. Yeah. But also, and I think if you may allow me to talk about that too, I mean, also it's important also to talk about good news too. I mean, because we said that Palestinian rights cannot be negotiated anymore, we are really doing what we promised to do. So October 5th, the executive committee for the UNESCO decided to accept Palestine as a full member in the UNESCO. We had 40 voted yes for that, and 15 voted again, no, 4 no, and 11 abstain. So this is a good achievement for Palestinians now.
Yes,
now, of course, now the General Assembly for the UNESCO, they are meeting now in Paris, in France. And the meetings started the 25th of October, and it goes all the way till November 10th. And we are suspecting at some point the request by the executive committee or the UNESCO executive committee will come to the floor, and they will ask the 193 countries to vote on accepting Palestine as a full member at the UNESCO. And we are almost sure that Palestine soon, and hopefully we'll hear about it in a couple of days, will be joining the UNESCO as a full member,
now,
country.
What exactly is UNESCO?
Well, the UNESCO is what it stands for, the United Nations Educational, Scientific, Cultural Organization. That's what UNESCO stands for. And it is important for Palestine to be and to have and to hold a full member seat at the UNESCO, because now a lot of Palestinian, for example, heritage and cultural items, the Israelis are claiming that it's theirs, and they're asking the UNESCO to list them under Israel rather than under Palestine. For example, even the birthplace of Jesus Christ, which is in Bethlehem, which is under the Palestinian Authority, supposedly, right now. Right now, Israel are even asking UNESCO to list that as an Israeli heritage place. So that's why we see that this is very important thing for us. And we're hoping that within couple days or 3-4 days or whatsoever, but maximum by November 10th, we are hoping that we will start celebrating the full membership of Palestine at the UNESCO, because we have a very strong feeling and very good information that we will have more than 2/3 of the 193 that will be voting
you need
yes.
Is 2/3?
Yes. And so that's a good achievement. That's a good achievement, and that's what I mean by Palestinian rights cannot be negotiated anymore. We have been negotiating that. But, you know, negotiation didn't get us nowhere.
Right.
So now we have to do it ourselves. And we will be succeeding by doing something like that. The other thing that I'm not quite sure how many people heard about that or not, we were also accepted as a full member state in something called the International Engineering Council.
I didn't hear about
and
this.
that International Engineering Council is simply a council. It's an international council. Countries join as a full member country in that. So we got accepted to that council, as a matter of fact, in the beginning of October also.
Great.
And that's also a good news. So we are achieving things. We are achieving things, and I'm hoping that we'll continue to work the same way. We continue to organize, and we continue to reach our goals, which is the ultimate goal, which is the independent Palestine and Jerusalem as its capital.
Some people have objected to this because they say that it won't change anything for Palestinians. the UN bid won't change anything for Palestinians on the ground.
Well, unless we force that, of course, it might not change. That is true. But that doesn't mean I have to just sit down and say, okay, well, let the status quo continue. But you see, the thing that I think about it is that once we become a country, a full member nation at the United Nations, now the negotiating on the negotiation table will be different. Because it's not like, okay, well, here we're a strong country as the state of Israel negotiating with very weak entity. They look at us as an entity. They don't look at us as a nation. They don't look at us as a country. So once you put both on the same level, that's, I think, a good start. So for whoever take that, you know, and I respect anyone's opinion, but I think it's very important for us to also recognize that it is important to be on the same level as Israel, negotiating as a nation, as a full member nation, and requesting the international community to simply force Israel to accept every single international resolution, whether it's by the General Assembly or by the Security Council, because that's where I think justice will be served for Palestinians. Because, you know, if we continue to have all these resolutions as part of, you know, or as a piece of paper sitting somewhere at the United Nations without enforcing that,
right,
it's not going to mean much.
So the thought is, if Palestine is recognized as a state, whether it's a member state of the UN or a non-member state of the UN, that they would go before the UN and say, okay, we've been recognized as a state, and now Israel isn't treating us like a state because they're still occupying us.
That's one thing, and the other thing is we can request easily at that point the international community to really enforce the United Nations resolutions.
But doesn't that have to go through the Security Council?
Again, Security Council, and that's again most probably the Security Council maybe, and I agree at some point with some of the countries who call for the revoke of the veto power in the Security Council. Because why we have to give only 5 countries in the whole world that power of, you know, killing any resolution.
Right.
And so a lot of countries, including China, as a matter of fact, is calling for, you know, it's time. I mean, when they established that long time ago, maybe they had a need for it. But I think right now, countries has to be treated equally. I don't think a country has to be better than the other. So I'm looking forward to hear the good news about the UNESCO, and I'm hoping that that will celebrate, and the world will celebrate the Palestine joining the UNESCO. And as I said, we're already now accepted as a full member in this International Engineering Council, which mainly their main offices and their headquarters is in Davos. So that's where they have their main offices. So now we are a member in this.
So what does that give you?
It gives us, you know, some sort of what I will call insight when it comes to, you know, this council first of all works on more like an advisory base.
Oh, okay.
So they give advices to member countries and so on about, you know, different engineering projects, different, you know, infrastructure work and so on. So that gives us that insight, that international insight with projects like that. The other thing that we are talking about right now is going to the World Health Organization, and asking also for a full membership for Palestine. So we're hoping once we finish UNESCO, the World Health Organization will be next, as a matter of fact. And we're doing the work, and I'm very proud to to say that Palestinians are on the right path, on the right track, and the thing that we have with all this good news right now, the thing that we have to be careful with is, and I'm sure, Pat, you are very active with things like that, and you read a lot and you watch the news, especially when it comes to Palestinian-Israeli conflict. And I'm sure you heard about, the threats against President Mahmoud Abbas by the Israeli Foreign Minister Lieberman. And I think Palestinians should take that as a serious
Can
threat.
we explain to our listeners exactly what Lieberman said?
Yeah.
And who Lieberman is, why it's important.
Lieberman is a far right extremist, what I call head of a far right Jewish party or Israeli party in the Knesset, and he is also right now the Israeli foreign minister in Netanyahu government. And when it comes from someone like him who is holding the foreign ministry, I mean, we should take that as a serious matter. He has been telling the media of different accusations of President Mahmoud Abbas, and he even dared to say that President Mahmoud Abbas is not a good president and he has to resign and set aside. I mean, who is Lieberman to tell the Palestinian that President Mahmoud Abbas is their president or not? The
thing that raised flags for me is he said he thinks he should be gotten rid of.
Yes.
And that's what the Palestinians went to an organization and asked them to, who did they go to?
Well, they are going to the court, I'm sorry, it's just like I just missed that. Yeah, the court, and asking for the court to really act on this, because we take this as a serious
incitement.
Exactly, as incitement, as a serious matter too, because this reminds me, if history goes around. This reminds me exactly with what happened exactly to late President Arafat. They started the same thing. They started incitement against late President Arafat, all the way up until they imprisoned him, and I mean it, imprisoned him in a small place in the Muqata'a in Ramallah, and then everybody knows exactly what happened from there.
He was basically under house arrest.
So we should take that really as a serious accusation.
Oh, he said he was an obstacle to peace. That's what he said.
If we are obstacles to peace, I don't know what the Israelis has to be named. I mean, who continue to build all the obstacles that get us to a peaceful resolution, such as the apartheid wall and the illegal settlement and the confiscating of lands and keeping more than 8,000 Palestinian prisoners under very bad conditions in the Israeli prisons and so on. We let people judge, we let the world judge. I'm very optimistic that we're going to get the UNESCO as a full member. I'm very optimistic that we're going to go to the World Health Organization and so on and get all this stuff done for the Palestinians, because as I said again, and I will repeat that, and the people in Palestine get used to hearing me saying this statement over and over and over. Palestinian rights are not up for negotiation anymore. President Obama and Prime Minister Netanyahu, Palestinian rights are rights that we're going to achieve, whether you like it or not, whether you agree with us or not. It's a matter of time.
Did you have a chance to talk to Netanyahu or anyone from the Israeli government?
No.
Okay.
No. I will